Last night I was reading a story about the ancient Colosseum in Rome, and there was a story about a young slave boy who was cast into the arena, and he was going to have a match against a lion. If he won this match, he was going to get fame and riches for the rest of his life. And if he lost the match, well, then the lion was going to get supper that day. So he was shoved out into the arena, and he wasn't given any tools or any weapons of any kind. So he immediately just started running around the arena to try and outrun the lion. But he quickly realized that he was going to run out of energy before the lion was. So he came up with a plan. He immediately darted to the right, and he jumped up on the lion's back, and he whispered into the lion's ear. At that point, the lion just froze, looked to his left, looked to his right, and then bolted out of the arena. The entire Colosseum went nuts. The slave had won. As the slave was walking up to the emperor said, "I will give you your riches of silver and gold, but I must ask you first, what did you whisper to the lion?" The slave boy said, "Well, I just told him that it's usually typical for the lion to give a speech to the Colosseum after we are done with supper." So whether we are a lion or whether we are a Toastmaster, Mr. Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters and guests, we all have fear of public speaking. But we want to know that it is actually very normal to feel nervous when you're public speaking. Mark Twain said there are two types of speakers. There are nervous speakers and there are liars. So the key is we want to be able to control our fear. We want to be able to figure out that even though we know that the audience really rarely notices the fear, we want to make sure that we are controlling our fear in such a way that we are not able to hinder our message coming across to our audience. So today we're going to look at three different areas. First of all, we're going to look at some of the triggers of anxiety. Next, we're going to look at some of the symptoms of anxiety, and then we're going to third look at the ways that we can manage that anxiety. So first of all, we're going to jump to our triggers of anxiety. Everybody is familiar with the fight or flight response. If whether we're walking around the corner and we meet a dog on the corner, or whether we're standing up in front of our Toastmasters group, we immediately realize that something is going to happen, and our body is conditioned to have this fight or flight response. And the way it does that is that the body produces a lot of adrenaline, and that adrenaline causes your heart to beat faster, and it causes increased blood flow throughout your body so that your body can have the increased oxygen and energy that it needs to either fight or flight. And that is the same thing that happens when we come up to give a speech. We have a new experience, so therefore we are given this extra adrenaline, which causes the extra blood flow throughout our body. But unfortunately, this extra blood flow can also cause some other activities also. This happens all the time, and it can happen because of any number of things that can happen. Some of the triggers of how this can happen is number one, it's new and unknown situations. We're often, because we do not have the ability to anticipate the unforeseen, it causes us to get anxious. If we don't know what's going to happen, it only causes us to have more anxiety in our life. We also have the risk of failure. We have been bred our entire lives to want to have success. And if we don't have success, we're worried about what's going to happen to us. We're worried about the failure that's going to happen. Third, we have the potential for appearing foolish. We don't want to embarrass ourselves while we're speaking. So that oftentimes can create anxiety when we have our public speaking. And fourth and finally, we have the possibility of boring the audience. It is our goal as our speaker, we want to connect with our audience. We want to deliver our message. If we're worried about that the audience is going to be bored during our speech, we're going to become anxious, and we're not going to be able to have the positive message that we want to have. So now that we've looked at some of the triggers, we can actually move on to what happens when this anxiety causes to us, and that means when we move on to our anxiety symptoms. As I mentioned, This adrenaline goes throughout your body, and it causes it can cause some issues of what can happen to yourself and what can happen to your speaking. One of these is increased heart rate. We've all had it where you're sitting there trying to prepare yourself for the speaking, and you know you're about to go up, and you can feel your heart just beating in your chest. And it can cause a lot of anxiety because you just want your heart rate to slow down, but you don't know what you're able to do about it. Another symptom is having those butterflies in your stomach. It's that increased blood flow that we talked about causes all kinds of activity to go on in your stomach, and that only makes it more uncomfortable for you up on the stage. But again, it's very important to remember that these are not physical. That these first two symptoms that we're looking at aren't something that your audience can notice. They can't see your heart beating. They can't see your stomach churning. So that these are a couple instances of things that only happen to you, and it's not necessarily something your audience knows. Next is Uncontrollable Shakes. I know this is something that I have always had to deal with my entire life. My hand shakes pretty normally anyways, and it only flares up when I get nervous. And being nervous causes your hands to shake even more. And if you're holding a script or if you're holding a note cards, it can only create some bigger problems for you, and it's definitely something your audience is going to notice. Lightheadedness. This increased blood flow throughout your body is going to create some issues where that your brain isn't getting the blood flow that it needs, and that can cause you to become lightheaded. If you are able to conquer some of these fears, you're going to figure out exactly why this is happening and hopefully figure out some ways to break through from it. And on the same lines is dizziness. If you're not able to maintain your balance, you're not able to have your feet firmly planted on the ground, it can cause this dizziness that can have some of the symptoms that you're going to have to deal with when you're giving up your speaking. So now that we've looked at some of the triggers of the anxiety and some of the symptoms of the anxiety, we want to look at what we can do about it. That's going to lead us to our third and final point of how we want to manage anxiety. The key that we have definitely learned in all of our public speaking training is experience. You want to practice your speech. You want to practice speaking. One of the first district conferences I went out to in Williston, North Dakota, had a former world champion of public speaking, and his name was Darren Lacroix. Is there anybody in the room who's familiar with him? He's an excellent speaker. He's known for, he started out as a stand-up comedian, and he wanted his Toastmasters group to help him become more funny. And now he's probably one of the more famous Toastmasters speakers in terms of what he's been able to do. And one of his main messages that he sends out is stage time. And it's take whatever stage time that you can get because you want to practice and you want to become better at public speaking. Toastmasters is a great way to do that because it can allow us to practice our public speaking and it can allow us to allay some of the fears that we have. If you know that you're going to be coming up with a speech soon, practice in front of a mirror. If you're able to look at yourself in front of a mirror, you can become more conscious of some of the nervous activities that you might have. And if you become more conscious of these activities, it can help you to alleviate some of them. You can rehearse in front of family and friends. Your loved ones are definitely rooting for you. They want to help you in terms of becoming a better speaker. And you're comfortable with them. You have conversations with them all the time, so they can give you some tips on how you're able to improve your public speaking and how you're able to become a better speaker. You can deliver a speech in front of your Toastmasters club. Our Toastmasters club is a very welcoming environment. We're all here to help you. It's all of our goals in here to become better public speakers. This is an excellent training ground. This is an excellent way to be able to practice speeches that you want to give outside in business experience or in some of the other social clubs that you might be taking care of. So this is a good way to practice. It's a non-threatening environment that you can use to help practice your speeches. And fourth, give presentations before other groups anywhere you can. The more you're able to practice your speech, if you're able to give it in front of your Toastmasters group, if you're able to give it in front of your coworkers at work, if you're able to give it, if you want to go visit other Toastmasters groups, the more practicing you have, the more comfortable you're going to be with your speech, and the less nervous you're going to be. Another way to manage anxiety is to use visualization. There's been a lot of scientific research out there that imagined events in your brain are actually stored in your brain the same way that memories are. So if you actually imagine something enough, your brain is going to interpret it the same way of if you actually did it. So a key of something that you can do to practice your speech is to just go through everything in your head. So if you are able to just close your eyes and then visualize that you're introduced to the audience, that you walk confidently up to the lectern, you take a few deep breaths before you start, and actually take deep breaths, inhale and then exhale. If you speak calmly and visualize that you're speaking calmly and that you remember all of your points, that you've captivated your audience with good gestures and good vocal variety, and that after you finish your speech and you walk back to your seat and your audience applauds for you. If you go through this enough times, your brain is going to become trained that it's actually going to think that you gave this speech and that all of this happened. So it's work on visualizing giving a good speech, and that's going to help you actually give good speeches in the future. And the third area we're going to look at is relaxation. So at this point, I want everybody to stand up, and we're going to go through some relaxation techniques that you can use to help become less nervous before you start speaking. The first thing you want to do is to tighten up some muscle groups and then relax. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start at the shoulders. Is tighten up your shoulders and then relax them. Tighten up your shoulders and then relax them. You can do this in all of the muscle groups in your body. Well, let's go with your feet now. Tighten up your feet, relax your feet. Tighten up your feet, relax your feet. Move up to your knees, tighten up your knees, relax your knees. Tighten up your knees, relax. Okay, then go in your diaphragm, tighten up, relax. Tighten, relax. So if you repeat this over and over, this is going to get your muscles stimulated. This is going to help you relax and help you figure out, and it's going to help your body get rid of some of the nervousness that it has in its body. Another thing that we want to do is that, I'll do it first, so you want to inhale as you reach up and exhale as you reach down. So everybody? I feel more relaxed already. I can just see the entire room is relaxed right now. Some other things too. We're not done yet. Don't sit down. Roll your arms around. And you can get bigger. And this helps you. Some people aren't as relaxed as others. And you can do the same thing with your neck. Roll back, forth.
Oh yeah.
As your body becomes looser, you're going to become more relaxed. Everybody can sit down again. So.
Thank you, Dawn.
Another relaxation that you can use is breathing from your diaphragm. You want to be able to make sure that your body is getting the oxygen that it needs. So breathe in. If you're breathing all the way from your stomach, it's going to be the best way that your body is getting the oxygen that it needs, so that your body is in the best position possible. So today, after looking at 3 different areas, some of the triggers of anxiety, some of the symptoms of anxiety, and some ways to manage anxiety, we can see that number 1, it's normal to feel nervous. We all feel nervous as speakers, but if you're able to take that energy and put it into your speech in a positive way, you can help yourself out as a speaker. Most of the time, your audience won't notice some of the things that are going on in your body. So as long as you're able to eliminate some of the physical cues of the nervousness that is taking place, you're definitely going to be able to become a better speaker. And we have some methods that we can use that you can relax your body physically. You can use visualizations that you can use to exhibit confidence throughout your speech. So we can see whether you are a Toastmaster or whether you are a lion, that we have some great ideas of ways that you can move forward and control your fear in your speech.